UFC Fight Night, Bautista versus Oliveira just wrapped up. Mario Bautista puts on a dominant, clinical performance and completely fraud checks Vinicius Oliveira, as I predicted, to regain his momentum at bantamweight. Kyoji Horiguchi gets down to business against Amir Albazi, who looked awful. Rizvan Kuniev becomes Dana White's new favourite fighter, and possibly mine, by defeating Jailton Almeida in an absolute act of terror on the sport. That fight sucked. And overall, look, this fight night completely delivered. I knew it was going to be a banger of a card. Us hardcores were salivating at some of these fights. Plenty of blood was spilled, finishes and wars up and down the card, even a decent WMMA fight. Yeah, boys, this card ruled. One of the better Apex fight nights in a long while. Let's break it all down. I'll give you my fight breakdown and reaction for every fight and discuss the key moments of controversy and awesomeness. Picks were solid once again, a couple of real stinkers, but another main event in the bag. Both locks hit, 9-4 on picks overall, and I got shafted a couple of times too. I'll tell you about that a bit later. UFC Fight Night, Bautista versus Oliveira, full card recap and breakdown. Let's punch on. The main event, Mario Bautista versus Vinicius Oliveira. I had Mario Bautista locked in very confidently, probably one of the most confident main event picks I've had ever on the channel, and he gets it done by round 2 submission. Now, I discussed in the prediction video that I knew Bautista was going to win, but I just wasn't quite sure how he was going to get it done. I ended up going with a round 4 KO, but I said a submission was possible, a decision was possible. I mean, that's all the outcomes of the fight. But what I was trying to say was I'm very confident Bautista gets it done, and he can choose to get it done however he wants. And my logic for that was that he's more skilled, he's more well-rounded, and as the fight goes on, Oliveira, whose gas tank is very sus, and he's pretty gutless, to be honest, I knew he was going to fade, and I knew that Bautista would be more clinical, more professional, and just a better fighter overall. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. I actually thought it would be a little bit more competitive, to be honest. I was giving Bautista plenty of credit and saying he was the better fighter, but I thought Oliveira would put up a little bit more of a fight and not just get completely outclassed, but that's what happened, man. Bautista just came in calm, composed, didn't react to any of the bullshit or the, aura farming or like hands down and lack of glove touch and stuff from Vinicius Oliveira. Oliveira was just too high on his own farts all week, with his zesty little blonde goatee and the way he was doing his hair before the fight. Yeah, what a wanker. The whole time he's walking out, I was just going, I hope this bloke gets chinned or finished in some way. And Mario Bautista got it done for us. And you know what? This guy gets a bad rap, and he's one of the most hated fighters in the UFC for what he did to Jose Aldo, but he's definitely growing back on me. And I said in my predictions, I don't hate this guy. I think he's good. He's a great fighter, and he proved it, man. He's levels above these guys at bantamweight, and he's definitely in title contention. Round 1, Oliveira tried to just land a few low kicks and do his thing, but I didn't really know what his game plan was at all. Bautista just took everything he had, dodged everything, was really defensively secure, initiated a little bit of grappling, had to scramble a couple times, but just flowed so smoothly from position to position, and he was so defensively sound. He ends up on top, dropping axe kicks and trying to drop some bombs. Oliveira was defending with his legs and, trying to make it tricky and looking for heel hooks and things like that, but Bautista just had an answer for absolutely everything. Got a few elbows through at one point, and Oliveira, at the end of round 1, looked completely done. He looked gassed, he looked demoralised, he looked broken, and not even much had happened, really. Like, Bautista had landed a little bit of damage with some elbows, and he'd obviously been on top and shown his strength to Oliveira. So I reckon Oliveira just realised that he was in a fight that he couldn't win, because surely he couldn't have been gassed out in a main event after 5 minutes. But as I said in my predictions, Oliveira's gas tank is very sus. He gassed out in round 2 and 3 against Said Nurmagomedov. In a 5-rounder, I knew he was going to gas. I just thought maybe it'd happen later in the fight, not at the end of round 1. But yeah, end of round 1, Vinicius Oliveira just looked like shit, and he looked beaten in the corner. And I was feeling pretty confident that my pick was good at that point. In round 2, Oliveira just comes out like looking sloppier and sloppier every second of the fight, starts swinging wildly. Mario Bautista ducks under a couple of combinations and lands a great double leg, gets some back control against the cage and just starts slamming and dropping Oliveira down, jams him up against the fence, dunks him down again and again, takes the back. But look, Oliveira was doing a decent job of kind of pushing his back up against the fence and defending the hooks. But eventually they kind of break up. Bautista lands a couple of good shots. Vinicius did land a counter here and there, but even the commentators said he looks winded. He was getting pieced up to the body. Bautista was landing some good shots to the body and some good front kicks. And then Oliveira, look, I think it's supposed to be his style. He thinks it's his style, but he's got his hands down, looking sloppy as hell. He did it in some of his other fights too, but it looked clean because his opponents were nowhere near as good. But in this fight, having his hands down, he was just leaving himself open for shots. Eventually, Vinicius goes for a takedown, like a desperate takedown, and it was pretty good. He almost got it, but Mario Bautista, impressed with his jiu-jitsu in this fight. He had an awesome-looking ninja reversal, and he ends up on top, and that was the beginning of the end. From there, he just started landing elbows, and Oliveira had nothing off his back. He was completely done at that point. Bautista gets to side control, straight into the crucifix, and starts just landing tapping shots, and from there, it was all she wrote. Bulk elbows raining down, not big ones, but just enough that Oliveira had to move. He did end up bucking out, but into a really bad position. Bautista started looking for a Kimura, then he just ragdolls him, bro. I was surprised how good his jiu-jitsu was against Oliveira, who's, a Brazilian guy. His last name's Oliveira. You'd think he'd have a little bit more in the jiu-jitsu, but he's not really a jiu-jitsu guy. He's more of like a flashy striker, and Bautista just ragdolled him completely. Took his back so easily and with such a slick move, and just flows straight into a choke. I thought he was going to rip his head off, but Vinicius Oliveira, thankfully, taps immediately and just quits. He knew he was done. There was nothing he could do from there. The choke was in, but it wasn't in for long, and he just taps. So it was fucking easy work for Mario Bautista. What a performance from him. Hard to tell how seriously we need to take him because, as I said, Oliveira is not elite level, and he never was. That's why I locked in Bautista, but he still made him look like he wasn't even in the top 15. So really good performance from Mario Bautista. Levels above his opponent, dominated him, shut him down completely, ragdolled him and finished him easily, and made it look a lot easier than I thought he would. Oliveira, unfortunately, he's a complete fraud. He's going back to the B leagues, and I don't think we'll ever see him in a main event again. Yeah, very confident pick on that one. First ever successful lock in a main event. We made up for our dismal failure when we locked in Ronnie DeRitter last year. Mario Bautista definitely making back some brownie points after how much I hated him last year. No, I like this guy. He's going to be a top contender for a while at bantamweight. He's young. I just don't know if I can see him getting past the top guys, but he'll be a perennial contender, and he's a nice guy. He's a solid dude, well-rounded, entertaining fighter. Whether you think so or not, I think he is. Yeah, good shit, Mario Bautista. Easy lock. Let's talk about Amir Albazi versus Kyoji Horiguchi. I picked Amir Albazi by decision, but guys, I was only joking, okay? As if Amir Albazi was going to beat my GOAT, Kyoji Horiguchi. Come on, bro. I was just rage baiting you guys for picks. I was just checking to see if you were watching. As if this fucking Iraqi motherfucker, Amir Albazi, was going to come back from spine surgery and heart surgery and beat the fucking legend Kyoji Horiguchi. It was never going to happen, bro. That was a complete hoax of a pick. Alonzo Menafield at his finest. And yeah, look, I like to think I'm doing pretty well with my predictions in these fights, but occasionally I'll just do one like this where I just go, bro, what were you doing? Like, why would you pick Dan Hooker to beat Benoit Saint-Denis? Why would you pick Amir Albazi to beat the GOAT, the future champ, Kyoji Horiguchi? Make it make sense, fellas. I don't even know. I'm not going to talk about this one for too long. Basically, Kyoji Horiguchi looked like he was on another fucking level. He looked like he was fighting against a little toddler from the playground. And even though Kyoji Horiguchi is like a little 5'2" fucking gremlin, he was so much faster, so much cleaner, so much more active. Like Amir Albazi, get him out of the UFC, bro. He did nothing. He was doing absolutely nothing except just standing there as a heavy bag. It was like Kyoji was so fast he couldn't even see him, bro. Kyoji was just dashing in and out, so light on his feet, barely even touching the ground, piecing him up, landing big kicks. Look, people are calling this 30-27 for Horiguchi, and two of the judges gave it 30-27. I actually gave round one to Amir Albazi. I don't know how you don't give round one to Amir Albazi. He got dropped. Like, Kyoji got dropped, like clearly dropped by a big shot. And yes, he won the rest of the round. But if you understand how the judging criteria works, it's like immediate damage and fight-ending impact. And a drop has a lot more sway than a bunch of cumulative damage. But look, I don't know. It's not the most egregious one ever, but I thought it was pretty obvious that Amir Albazi won round one with the drop. But that was his only moment in the entire fight. He was just not even in the fight after round 2. Round 2 was a complete starching from Kyoji Horiguchi. He landed a bunch of damage, just busted up Amir Albazi's face, had him bleeding and just looking completely bewildered, and yeah, made it look easy, boys. Another one that just looked like it was a mismatch. Albazi was $4, paying $4, and I thought that was good value for some reason. I don't know why. Just trying to get a crafty fucking co-main event roughy pick like I did last week. Maybe I'll learn my lesson there. So anyways, I'm not upset. Kyoji Horiguchi gets it done. Don't know why I didn't pick him. He's like one of my favorite fighters. I've been like making memes about this guy, and yeah, just a weird pick, that one. So we'll leave that one through to the keeper. But good shit. I'm happy that Kyoji Horiguchi's in the UFC. It's a better place. He's brought a bit of spice to flyweight. Good moment on the mic again. Yeah, he's a good fella. I like him. Let's move on to Jailton Almeida versus Rizvan Kuniev. Yeah, I ended up picking Rizvan Kuniev by KO or TKO. And look, I did a pretty good job of picking this one. A lot of people were picking Jailton Almeida just because of the thought of the grappling. I was feeling pretty good about Kuniev as soon as I saw this fight get made. And obviously, look, I'm not a genius. I didn't pick Kyoji Horiguchi, but I feel like I'm playing 4D chess with this one, boys, because I said in my predictions, Jailton Almeida, he's a one-dimensional fighter. He takes guys down, he lays on top of them, and he taps shots, and he just wins by control time, or he loses by control time, again, like he did against Alexander Volkov. Rizvan Kuniev is from Dagestan, number one. He can wrestle. He did good against Curtis Blades. Even though he got dunked and taken down immediately in that fight, he wrestled back up, which is a very hard thing to do at heavyweight with a big 300-pound fat fuck like Curtis Blades on top of you, who's actually a good wrestler as well. So when I saw him get back up against Curtis Blades, win that fight against Curtis Blades, in my opinion, get robbed, I knew he'd be able to deal with Jailton Almeida. Jailton Almeida, who is probably a better technical, or as good of a technical wrestler as Curtis Blades, but he's smaller and he's not as powerful. And I said this in my predictions too. As soon as Almeida can't get him down and hold him down, what the fuck is he going to do to beat Rizvan Kuniev? He's got absolutely nothing. He's got no ticker, no striking, no technique, and it's kind of how this fight went. I did think that Kuniev was going to be able to knock him out just in the later rounds because he would just be able to stuff him and Almeida would gas out. Almeida actually warmed into the fight. I actually thought Almeida won round 3, and he started looking like fucking Canelo on the feet in round 3. Like, I don't know why Almeida was just fighting the way he was. For this whole fight, Rizvan Kuniev would just stuff takedowns, lean up against Almeida in the clinch and just do nothing, and got separated a few times. But Almeida's sitting there complaining and whinging the whole time while he's doing absolutely nothing to get off the cage and waiting for the ref to break him up. Like, yes, it was boring, and yes, Kuniev was doing nothing in the clinch, but you got to work and move to get out of there, bro. Like, what are you doing sitting there like complaining to the ref while you're not actually attempting to get off the cage? So Kuniev was just doing enough on the cage most of the time. Like, they did get split up a few times, but Kuniev was doing enough just with little uppercuts and knees and little elbows and stuff to win the positions. And then when they would separate in round 1 and 2, Kuniev was doing the better work on the feet as well because Almeida was throwing absolutely nothing until round 3 where, yeah, look, so I had it, look, round 1 was really close. I gave it to Kuniev based on a bit of damage. Round 2, clear Kuniev. Round 3, Almeida actually came alive, yeah, and started throwing some shots on the feet. And when he threw shots in combinations, he was backing Kuniev up and actually clipping him and winning on the feet. So very, very low IQ from Jailton Almeida. Another reason why I didn't pick him. I know he's got fucking terrible fight IQ, terrible instincts to finish or to win a fight. The UFC is going to be frothing. Rizvan Kuniev, he's going to get Employee of the Month. He'll get a performance bonus. He's Dana White's new favourite fighter because he's got rid of Jailton Almeida out of the title picture. He already kind of was, but the thing was, he kind of beat Volkov, and so the UFC is probably thinking, oh, well, look, we still have to, give him a top matchup because he just, sort of got robbed against Volkov, but they threw him Kuniev. He took the fight on short notice. He fucked it up, and yeah, I don't think we're going to see him up the top of the division for much longer. It's pretty bad. It was a rubbish performance from both men. I had it 29-28 for Kuniev based on rounds 1 and 2. Look, I'm not that proud of this pick. It was pretty crafty, though, I must say. I knew the wrestling of Kuniev would be enough to keep Jailton Almeida off him. Like I said, he's Dagestani. He did good against Curtis Blades. And apparently Kuniev was injured in that Blades fight too. So he might be a bit better than we think, but he did not look anything fucking special at all. So, yeah, but once Jailton Almeida can't take you down and smudge you, he's got absolutely nothing. Fucking terrible fighter. So, yeah, good pick, that one. Let's move on to Michal Oleksiejczuk versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Very, very entertaining fight, this one. Sick scrap, sloppy as, Both blokes just stood there punching each other in the face for 3 rounds. I ended up picking Mikhail Oliveira by TKO. He nearly got Powerbar out of there in round 1. Look, I did note that Powerbar, and this was kind of what I was thinking in round 1, Powerbar just fights like a victim, bro. For a big, thick, strong guy, he's got a kind of pussy way of fighting, but that was in round 1. He did actually bring it back in round 2, but the whole time I'm sitting there going, he's going to get chinned. Like, I'm just waiting for Powerbar to get chinned. It's very strange for a guy who looks like him and has the build like him. He just looks like a frail, timid type of fighter. But yeah, Mikhail Oliveira wasn't really able to take advantage of that in round 1. He was just headhunting and look, landed big shots, don't get me wrong, and really working the body nicely and landed big 1-2s down the pipe. Yeah, dominated Powerbar and, dumped him down and finished, almost finished him in round 1. But in round 2, Powerbar kind of, it's like he downloaded the data in round 1 and he started actually doing really well in round 2, and he was getting into the clinch and landing really nice, dirty boxing and shots to the chin and elbows and stuff in round 2 that really busted up Mikhail Oliveira. And I was a bit worried at that point because Mikhail's not exactly known for his cardio or his heart, and he likes to get guys out of there in round 1. So it was a good test for Mikhail to see what he could and would do if he didn't get the guy out of there in round 1. So Marc-Andre Barrios was probably the perfect opponent for him, just to test him. And look, he passed the test. He did get it done. Round 3, it was good to see Mikhail Oliveira take back over and start to push the pace again. And he did end up, winning a grueling round 3 just by picking up the pace and doing a bit more and landing more damage and working the body in round 3. The body shots, man, I don't know what Marc-Andre Barrios' body is made out of. He must be doing a lot of fucking crunches and a lot of good core conditioning because he took a lot of big shots to the body in that fight. And yeah, look, he had a crack in round 3. Round 3 was a good, entertaining, close round. It was a fucking slugfest of a fight. Yeah, great fight. There was a few fight of the night contenders, but this was one of them. But yeah, Mikhail Oliveira, he's able to pick up the pace late in round 3 and just took over with volume and accuracy and wins an absolute war. They had over 60 significant strikes landed in total in every round. This fight definitely deserved to be in front of a crowd. They would have been going crazy. So yeah, 29-28, unanimous decision for Mikhail Oliveira. I had him by TKO, but yeah, was pretty confident with that pick. But in round 2, I was getting a bit worried. So good shit, Marc-Andre. Don't cut him. He's always, down to scrap. And Mikhail brought out the best of him. Mikhail must have been really concussed at the end of the fight, though, because he jumps on the mic and goes, Marc-Andre Barrios is the best fighter in the division. So, yeah, I think he was a little bit concussed there. But, yeah, good shit, Mikhail. Picked that one right, too. John Matsumoto versus Farid Basharat. This was a very, very close fight. And in my opinion, I think Farid Basharat should have lost this fight. I'm not going to call robbery because it was an incredibly close fight, and it did end up going as a split decision, but they gave it to Farid Basharat. Look, I think what won it for Farid Basharat is Jean Matsumoto wore the damage a lot worse. He was busted up. He got busted up in one of the first shots that Farid Basharat threw. I think it was like a little stepping elbow within the first minute that cut up his cheek, and he was bleeding badly out of that for the whole rest of the fight. And as the fight went on, Matsumoto's face just kept swelling and bleeding, and yeah, he looked pretty beaten up by the end of the fight, which was working for Farid Basharat's favour. But man, I don't know, bro. It was a tough fight to score. Definitely round 3 was a close round. They were all close. I actually gave round 1 to Farid Basharat in another close round. Round 2 I gave to John Matsumoto, and every judge had it 29-28, but it came down to round 3. And I just thought in round 3, Farid Basharat's body language was not that great, and John Matsumoto just kept warming into the fight. Now, yes, Farid Basharat landed a couple of good double legs that he blasted throughout the fight. He didn't do anything with them, but in such a close round of striking, where in my opinion, John Matsumoto landed more and better shots and did more damage, it was just... yeah, it was tricky. It's just the visible damage that I think cost him this fight. And look, Farid was looking a bit cleaner. He was landing straight shots and jabs and, nice technical looking takedowns, whereas Matsumoto was throwing wild looping shots and, scrambling off and falling off the back. And yeah, it was, as I said, close fight, good performance. The Basharats really surprised me on this card. I fucking hated them. I've been giving them shit for ages, saying how boring they are. But both of their fights were absolute bangers on this card. So they're going to have to keep doing it if they want to change my mind. A broken clock's right twice a day. But this was a sick fight. And look, John Matsumoto, his stocks don't fall at all. Neither do Farid Basharat. They actually rise a bit in my opinion too. He stays undefeated. Could have gone either way. I'm not upset about it. But just another one of those picks that I had on this card. You'll see a few later where I got a little bit hard done by on the picks. You boys tell me down in the comments, who do you reckon won that fight? I picked John Matsumoto and I want him to win, so maybe I was a little bit biased in that direction. But yeah, I thought round 3 could definitely have gone to Matsumoto, and so could round 2. So anyway, be keen to hear what you think about that one. It was a good fight. The crowd was fucking giving it to Farid Basharat too, booing the absolute fuck out of him. Probably the loudest I've ever heard the Apex crowd. They're all booing the entire arena, and Farid's like, bro, leave me the fuck alone. Like, I just went to war for you guys. For you fucking guys. Yeah, I kind of hate him too, so I don't blame the crowd. But yeah, good shit, Farid. He gets the win. Dustin Jacoby versus Julius Walker. Jacoby fucking starches this bum like I said he would. I said Jacoby was going to be too good, too clean on the feet, piece him up and get him out of there. I think I might have even said round 2 as well. Yeah, Jacoby, look, he has to go through a bit of grappling and a bit of smudging in round 1 where Julius Walker just picked him up and dumped him in the corner and, you know, pressed him up against the cage for a bit. Not really an easy round 1 to score, but I guess you give it to Julius Walker. Round 2, but Dustin Jacoby stings him, jabs him, lands a big 1-2, then just chins him bad. And look, people are raging about Dan Mergliotta's reffing here. Look, Dan's pretty retarded, to be honest. Like, a lot of people are rightfully calling him to retire. He's just had his 500th UFC fight. You'd think he'd know what he's doing, but he made this a dangerous finish for Julius Walker. Like, he was not protecting the fighter that well in this one, I reckon. After DJ chins him, the ref kind of jumps in between him, and Dustin Jacoby sort of gets up and goes to walk away because he thinks the ref stopped it. But then the ref goes, nah, play on. Like, I didn't stop it. I was just coming in close. So Jacoby turns back around, and fucking Julius Walker's just bloody concussed on the ground, and Jacoby just goes back in and lands a nasty uppercut, chins him again, rocks him bad. The fight's still going at that point. DJ just starts whooping him, busts him up, blood everywhere, just wrecks him on the ground. Walker somehow gets back up to his feet, and he's just out on his feet completely, and Jacoby just pours it on him, fucks him up with complete disdain. It was kind of sad to see, because apparently these two used to be training partners, and they were like sort of mates. And Jacoby really looked like he was happy just walking off and not hurting his mate, and he wanted to walk off KO, and the ref kind of almost gave it to him. He looked a bit pissed off at the ref, and he just pours it on and finishes him and, you know, fucks him up and leaves him crumpled on the floor. And he's pretty angry at the ref. In my opinion, it was a very late stoppage, and it should have been stopped after that second uppercut, if not after the first chinning. So, yeah, Walker was completely done, and Jacoby just had to keep pounding him out and did way more damage than was necessary. The first right hand was fucking nasty by DJ, the 1-2, and then, yeah, that uppercut, it reminded me of the one that Nasruddin Imavov clipped Izzy with. It was filthy work and good shit from Dustin Jacoby. And that, in my opinion, was the Dustin Jacoby that I've picked when I've picked him every single fucking fight of his career. That's the guy who I expect to turn up when Dustin Jacoby fights. He seems to not always turn up, and I was a bit worried about him after he started getting wrestled in round 1, but there he is. That's my guy, Dustin Jacoby. Good to see him get this one done after getting shafted for the Jimmy Crute fight. Jumped on the plane, had jet lag, fights on the next card on the Apex after going to be on a main card on a pay-per-view, and he gets it done in highlight fashion. You love to see it. Good shit. Nasty finish. Jacoby's still that guy. He's still a good gatekeeper at light heavyweight. Does need to work on his grappling defense. Says he's fucking tired, and then he says he wants to get on the White House card. I'd love to see him on there. I reckon he's a perfect fighter for the White House card. American, true blue, stars and stripes. Calls out Donald Trump for a game of golf. I fucking hope the bloke gets it. I hope he gets put on the White House card. Yeah, I love me some Dustin Jacoby, so I'm glad he got the win, and another good pick there. Alex Morono versus Daniel Donchenko. Interesting fight, this one. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, what is Morono's chin made of? I had Donchenko locked by round 1 TKO. Morono, coming in after 10 years in the UFC, looking like absolute shit, got a knee brace on, somehow manages to get completely chinned and almost knocked out in round 1 and fucking busted up beyond belief. Blood everywhere. He's leaking out of his nose, his mouth, had his fucking leg kicked off. I thought his bloody ACL was done, and somehow still goes the distance after a 10-8 in round 1, getting dropped about fucking 10 times from leg kicks, getting destroyed, taking heavy elbows and heavy ground and pound shots the entire fight from Daniel Donchenko. But he lasted distance. What a fucking beast of a fighter is Alex Morono. It was never in the fight. It was a clear like 30-26 or 30-27 for Daniel Donchenko, but a very sick, entertaining war without it ever really being close. The punch-ons parlay was cooked on its first leg because I had Donchenko by KO just because Morono's a tough son of a bitch. look, he landed a few shots here and there. He actually ended up busting up Daniel Donchenko bad as he got, sloppier and he gassed out later in the fight. But yeah, Daniel Donchenko was never really in trouble. He was just aura farming a bit at the end too, just kind of doing the Taito Ivasa thing where he stood there and took a few unnecessary shots. But yeah, entertaining performance. Donchenko got a bit of work to do on his defense, that's for sure. Looks like a scary dude, it took a tough opponent in Alex Morono to bring the best out of him, and he was able to do it and get the win. So keen to see what's next for him. I think he needs to step up, but Morono, got to give credit to the bloke. Tough as fucking beef jerky. But yeah, he was never going to win that fight. That's why I locked it. So both locks good this week. That's good to see. Nikolai Veretennikov versus Nico Price. I should have locked this one as well, to be honest. Nico Price, I said Veretennikov was going to chin him in round 1. And Veretennikov chins him easily in round 1, even more nasty and even more disgustingly than I thought he would. It was a standing TKO. Veretennikov just comes out on smoke, just chins him up against the cage, overhand right, big knee that pops him back up, elbow, right, left, right, over and out. The ref jumps in and Nico Price is like turning away with his head like 180 degrees from his body, standing TKO'd. The fight's completely done. He almost killed him. And then Nico Price in complete La La Land is like arguing the ref saying, I'm still good, I'm on my feet. Whereas he was, I think he's just that concussed and that knocked out that his legs just locked up and had him standing up. Yeah, he got fucking slept bad. It was a good performance from Veretennikov, but at the end of the day, it's Nico Price. He got chinned by the decaying corpse of Robbie Lawler. It was always going to happen. Veretennikov, I don't think he's as bad as people say he is. I think he's got a bit of potential. He's a fucking nasty dude. He's got heavy hands. Just got a bit of technical stuff to work on. But hey, he did what he was supposed to do against Nico Price. Bruno Brazil versus Ketlin Souza. Yeah, I don't know about this one either, boys. I picked Bruno Brazil by decision. And look, it was a close fight. It could have gone either way. Again, I'm a bit biased towards the chick that I picked. It was a terrible fight. Bruno Brazil clearly won round 1. She looked heaps better on the feet, but she just let herself get pushed up against the cage as the fight went on, and she got her eye punched that kind of threw her off and had her blinking out and dancing away, and it kind of allowed Ketlin Souza to get her range and start getting inside and getting control time and landing some shots. And as the fight went on and the eye just bothered Brazil more and more, Ketlin Souza was able to just do more and more. And it was a fucking awful fight. Neither girl really deserved to win. I thought Brazil was quite easily the more skillful fighter, but she kind of got unlucky. But also just pretty low fight IQ. She didn't do enough with the moments that she had as well. Ketlin Souza probably won round 2, but I thought round 3 was pretty close as well. It could have gone either way. Not going to scream daylight robbery. 8 minutes of clinch control for Ketlin Souza, and it was still a close fight. So yeah, who fucking cares about this fight? Multi-killer. Let's move on. Gianni Vasquez versus Javid Basharat. Again, fucking slap me silly. A Basharat fight is an actual banger. The Basharat boys came on smoke today. I ended up picking Javid Basharat by decision. The coin flip picked Javid Basharat, and he gets it done by decision. Vasquez looked like he belonged in the UFC, but he just lost a couple of big moments. He lost the first round because he got chinned and sat down. He did sit Javid Basharat down in round 2 and kind of almost got him out of there. So they both almost got each other out of there in round 1 and 2 respectively. Came down to round 3 and Basharat just showed his big fight experience, did a bit of wrestling, landed some better shots, end up on the back with the hooks in, attacking the choke, but he did enough on the back and he did enough on the feet to win the 3rd round in a close fight. It wasn't a clear win for Javid Basharat, but he did deserve to win. The right guy won. I just love how Gianni Vasquez comes in with the ultimate big dick power move, disrespects Javid Basharat by having Ricky Simone in his corner, the guy that just chinned Javid Basharat in his last fight. Thought that was pretty fucking funny. Thought it might have worked too, but after Vasquez had him rocked in round 2. But yeah, Javid Basharat shows he's got a bit more veteran experience there and wins the 3rd and the 1st and gets it done. And the coin flip is 3-0, perfect in 2026. I cannot believe it. It's unbalanced. So you just know we're going on a run of 3 wrong coin flips in the next 3 weeks. Let's get on to Gorilla Dick versus Eduardo Mora. Bro, Eduardo Mora, is she not the fucking female Charles Oliveira? Not just talking about the blonde hair, but bro, she looks like Charles Oliveira in the face, and she fights like him too. Like really aggressive, sloppy striking, and then pretty good jiu-jitsu. And good back control, and she's dangerous everywhere. Like, I don't know, just the whole time I'm watching this fight, I'm thinking Eduardo Mora looks and fights like Charles Oliveira. So she almost had Wang Kong out of there in round 2 with a rear naked choke. It was pretty close to getting locked in, and she had the whole round of control basically, and Wang Kong couldn't get her off her. Wang Kong round one, she fucking nearly chinned Eduardo Mora, nearly got her out of there in round 1, sat her down and almost finished it bad, but Mora just managed to, stay in there with a heel hook, looking like Charles Oliveira getting chinned, but staying in there. Like, I don't know, the whole time I'm just thinking that. And then round 3, Wang Kong rallies, had a bit more heart, got a bit of wrestling control of her own, crumpled Mora down and just busted her up and had her bleeding all over the shop. Mora looked gassed. I think she gassed herself out trying to finish Wang Kong in round 2, and Wang Kong gets it done. 29-28. Let's just talk about one of the most egregious fucking terrible scorecards I've ever seen in the UFC. Legitimately, I know no one watches these fights really, and no one's really going to give a fuck about this one, but one judge had it 30-27 for fucking gorilla dick, bro. That is honestly one of the worst, if not the single worst scorecard I've ever seen in my life. Like, obviously not impactful at all. Like, Wang Kong still clearly won the fight, but that judge gave it 30-27 and gave Wang Kong round 2, bro. That is a fucking disgrace. That judge was not even watching the fight, or they were paid off, because there's no interpretation of that round. There's no possible way that you could give round 2 to Wang Kong. That must have been a mistake or something, because that is legit one of the most wild scorecards I've ever heard in my life. There's no universe that you give Wang Kong round 2. No excuse at all. We need to find who that judge is and fucking fire them immediately. We can't have clowns like this judging fights when people's career is on the line. That's a fucking disgrace, but luckily it didn't affect anything. Wang Kong gets it done. Yeah, got that pick. Muin Gafarov fucking chokes and sells so bad against Jacob Wicklach. Oh, man, dude. Yeah, look, I'd love to see the scorecards. I haven't seen them yet. I'll have to have a look on Verdict or something. But I thought Gafarov won round 1, and he was winning round 3 clearly. He definitely had round 3 won. I think he was coasting to like a clear 29-28 win. Wicklach clearly won round 2 just by being bigger and having grappling control time, and I think he hurt Gafarov at one point. Then, yeah, Gafarov, the dumb fuck, he's clearly winning round 3, winning the fight, 30 seconds to go, goes for a takedown after he had Jacob Wicklach hurt and backed up and like wobbled up against the cage. Wicklach jumps a desperation guillotine and rolls over to the top, so he gives up position for one, gives him a guillotine, locks it in. Muin Gafarov's laying there in the guillotine, smiling, giving thumbs up at the ref, then legitimately taps with 0.01 seconds left to go on the clock, taps with his left hand and then taps like after the buzzer with his right hand. And it kind of like, not a lot of people saw the left hand tap, but he tapped with the left just before the buzzer on the replay showed it, and then he tapped with his right at the buzzer, like kind of just before, like probably on it, like simultaneous. Then he stands up after he taps and puts his hands in the air and like starts screaming, thinking he's won. But they're like, hang on a second, he tapped there. They get up and look at the replay, but Gafarov clearly tapped before the bell and gives up a submission at 4:59 and a half of round number 3 in a fight that he was winning. The fucking dumb idiot just has to hang on for like one more second, and he would have won the fight in my opinion. And that's how we lose the pick, boys. So yeah, tough for Gafarov, but that serves him right for shooting that dumb fuck takedown when he had Jacob Wicklach beaten, gassed, hurt against the fence. Yeah, I think Tai Tuivasa would even be proud of that one. So Jacob Wicklach, got to be the latest submission in UFC history. The pick gets shafted. I pretty much got that one right. I had Gafarov by decision, but yeah, we can't claim that one, boys, because the dumb fuck tapped. Anyway, the first fight in the card went pretty similar to how I said it would. It was Segula by KO was my call. Just thought she'd be better on the feet and would snipe Cachoeira at one point. Looking like it was going that way in round 1, she pieced up Cachoeira and busted her up and had her bleeding out of her face. But Cachoeira hung in there and she actually started doing better in round 3. I kind of zoned out in round 3. I think Cachoeira won round 3. Segula just was less and less effective as the fight went on. But actually, yeah, my stream dropped out while they were reading the scorecards. I was a little bit unsure. I thought Segula won round 1 and 2, but round 2 I think was pretty close. And Cachoeira, she's a bit of a dog, but yeah, didn't do enough. Just not very good technically at all. Just taking shots constantly. Segula just a little bit cleaner, and she gets it done by decision. I believe it was 29-28, but yeah, we got Segula for the pick. So there it is, fellas. Pretty solid card overall. I'm pretty fucking tired. Been going hard at the gym, and my brain and my body are a little bit cooked today. That's why I probably spoke a bit all over the shop in this video, but there it is. The picks are still solid, boys. 9-4. We're doing pretty well this year. That leaves us with a total overall picks percentage of 73% this year. It's only been 3 cards, but that's a pretty good going, I reckon. And honestly, 3 of my fights I've got wrong this year have been Alonzo Menefield just being retarded, and I've been shafted in a couple. Like, you could definitely say that Gafarov could have easily won that fight. Bruno Brazil could have got the nod. John Matsumoto, I thought he could have won that fight as well. And Amir Albazi, he could have won that fight if he landed 700 more shots and knocked out Kyoji Horiguchi. But yeah, look, that's the only fight that I'm feeling a bit dumb about. The rest of them, they weren't bad picks whatsoever. And we got a couple of underdogs this week too, boys. The locks were good. The picks were good. 9-4. Can't complain with that. Sick card overall. I love it when these Apex Fight Nights over-deliver. Not many people probably watch this card, but I'm glad I did because, yeah, it was a banger. There was some sick wars up and down the card. It's hard to tell who's going to get fight of the night there. The Matsumoto versus Basharat fight was sick. The Oleg Zaitchik versus Barrio fight was sick. Morono versus Donchenko was a war. Vasquez versus Javid Basharat was pretty sick as well. Wong Tong versus Eduardo Mora, didn't mind that fight. The Gafarov fight, even Segula versus Cachoeira was pretty sick. And then we just had that clear, dominant, really clinical performance from Mario Bautista. Looking forward to seeing what's next for him. They have to put him up the rankings. Maybe he can fight Corey Sandhagen. That's who he called out, I believe. And I think he's got a loss to him, so it might be good to see him run that one back. Anyway, fellas, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got onto some of these picks. I've been giving the picks out to me mates, and one of them cashed in a nice little $300 multi there today, just going off my confident picks. So, yeah, if you want to bloody get a bit richer in the future, boys, make sure you jump on those punch-ons picks. I'm posting them on Instagram. The parlays are up there. I haven't hit a parlay with my methods yet, but the winning fighters are always pretty good. So maybe I'll just chuck one of them up next week where we're just going for the fighter to win. But we're going to keep it going, boys. More content coming. I'll drop this GOAT list soon. I said I'll drop it this week. Yeah, I think we've got a week off the UFC this week, so I'll use that to get a bit of content out that I've been hoping to get out for a while. My life's going to be a little bit less crazy now. I've just been relieving in a pretty important job for my day job, and I've left that one aside now. So back to my normal job. Got to have a bit more time on my hands to make content and spin a bit of shit with you blokes. Hope you enjoyed the content. Like the video. Subscribe to Punch-Ons, fellas. A lot of you blokes aren't subscribed. A lot of you fellas aren't liking the video. So jump on there now. Click the button. Comment down below. Who do you reckon won the Matsumoto fight? And make sure you give us a follow on Instagram at Punch-Ons MMA as well. I'll catch you fellas for the next card. Hope you have a good one. Peace, love, punch on.